Hi, this is Bob, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. I'm excited today to have Chief Black with me with Emergency Service. Chief, I really appreciate you for several reasons. I'm glad to have you with us, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chief, tell us about yourself. You know, I know you. A lot of people know you, some don't know. And what we always do is we always ask our guests to tell us about you, how long you've been in emergency, or how long you've been the chief, and just tell us about you.
Okay. Well, I've been here in Forsyth County roughly around 27 years.
Wow.
It seems like a lifetime. Most of my adult career has been here. I've been a chief for roughly 6 months, I believe. And then those COVID 6 months, so they go fairly fast. And throughout my career here, I've been a paramedic on the road. I've been a training officer. I've been a tactical officer.
Wow.
And so a whole cadre of positions since I've been here.
I want you to know I appreciate you. When they were naming you, I thought they couldn't have named a better man. You and your guys are truly unsung heroes. As a matter of fact, you and I were talking off camera how much I appreciate you guys, how this job changes you. You know, last Monday at the car wreck, you were one of the first faces that I saw that showed up to take care of me. I appreciate you and your guys for that. You and I were talking about how this line of work, your line of work, ages you, it changes you. And so how do you get up every day and do this job? You see the tragedy in life when your guys respond.
So I think the first portion of my career, the balance was just the survival, the excitement of the job, getting out there and serving the public and really seeing something different every day. The later part of my career and the part that I'm in now is mainly I still serve the public, but I serve it through using the men and women that are on the road doing the job. And I find the joy of getting prepared, getting out there so they can have the resources to do what they do. And it's a pleasure to see when a new medic comes on board and they're a little scared initially, and they finally get something under their belt, and they're excited about their job. And so that's sort of where I live for now is, to focus on them so they can do their job. And in one sense, I'm able to extend my care out more than just to one patient. I can extend it out to somewhere like 160 patients a day.
Wow.
In theory, I'm touching through the proxy of using my employees, in which I serve and they serve me. In a sense, it's sort of a good relationship, and that's how.
So what does it take to be a medic?
Well, first of all, it takes that desire. It has some intestinal fortitude to say that I'm going to step up and serve the public, just like it would be for any job where you have to go out and serve the public. Once you get beyond that, you can enter in paramedic programs that can run anywhere from 10 months to 4 years.
Wow.
And depending on where you end up landing will depend on what kind of expertise you're going to bring to the table. Most programs, somewhere between like 16 months is where we land. Obviously, I like to get medics a lot sooner. That's more of the technical side of things where you come out and you can actually do the job that it requires to be a medic. And then later in the career paths, there's things like public speaking, teaching, things like that are more useful as you get further down the road and that are not applicable initially when you start off being a medic, but maybe 15 years down the road when you want to be a supervisor, it's definitely that public speaking, that conflict resolution management skills would become something that you could use.
Wow. So, I've known who you were, but I've gotten to know you a little better since you guys stepped up and partnered to do the training with the detention officers at the detention center. Tell us about that training. What does that consist of?
Well, that training is essentially it's a 60-hour course, medical responder course.
60 hours?
60 hours put
Wow.
on by North Carolina Office of EMS, and it's a medical responder course, and it allows the practitioner to have some basic understanding of the airway, breathing, circulation, and management of some minor crisis up to some CPR type major crisis. But it's set to be a gateway to bigger and better things. So they do get a terminal certification, and in that certification, they learn how to recognize sick versus not sick, and learn how to manage airway difficulties or cardiopulmonary arrest situations, and hemorrhage control, and those things that I think that, if you don't manage them fairly quickly, that you're going to have a negative outcome fairly quickly. And so that bridges that course gives you the ability to really bring up staff fairly quickly and teach them some fundamental skills that are going to be helpful not only in their career but outside in the public eye.
So Chief Black, let me back up for a minute. Where are you originally from?
Originally from Charlotte, Mecklenburg.
You're from the Queen City?
In Queen City.
So how did you end up in Forsyth County from Mecklenburg?
So it's like a collegiate tour of North America. So graduated from high school in Charlotte, did a few other things, and thought I was actually going to spend – I think I wanted to be a nurse originally, and ended up moving to Mooresville and moving to – Statesville, and going to school as a medic because I was waiting to become a nurse, and there just was not enough positions for me to go into that field. And as I was graduating from Catawba Valley in Hickory, North Carolina, I said, well, I want to go somewhere that's busy so I can get some experience, and I'll probably just go to Forsyth County because I did clinical time down here. And I said, I'll just go down there for about 6 months and hang out down there and get
How busy is it here?
It's busy. It's busy. It's really busy. So, I thought I didn't know what busy was, but, back then we had 5 trucks running 24-hour shifts.
When you say trucks, you're talking about ambulances.
Ambulances, right. So the vernacular is that the ambulances and trucks are the same. So my 5 ambulances running on a 24-hour shift basis. And we ran a lot of calls.
So we got 5 running?
Not now. Now.
You talking about then?
Then.
Okay.
So now, fast forward all those years come now. So most days we run somewhere between 16 trucks during the daytime. And
16?
16. And about 9 at night.
Wow. There's 2-man trucks, 1-man trucks?
There's 2 people in those trucks.
Ambulances.
Two people in those ambulances. That's correct.
Wow.
And that's not enough. So we need more.
Really?
Not enough. No, you need more. And that's what we're working on right now is to add more capacity to our system.
So what would be enough?
So that's
to cover the city.
So
you cover city and county.
City and county. So I'm not going to go on record and tell you what that number is, but I'll just say it's more than we currently have, just because there's some things in the works. But we could deal with a few more trucks.
Well, I always heard the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I mean, this might be the place to say I need it. I get it. I know. But
and I would say that if we were not, we are in a good place from the perspective of county management and moving direction to add trucks to our system. You can't, or ambulances to the system. There is no way that you can snap your fingers and make more paramedics, nor can you make more trucks. They take time to do such, and I think that I've got the support.
So we getting them? You saying we on the way to get them? What you saying?
We're on our way to get them.
We're on the way to get them?
Yeah.
Well, I want you to know that you guys came relatively quick last Monday, about a week ago this time. I felt like y'all was around the corner. So what's the response time on them?
So our average response time is somewhere around 9 minutes to get to people.
Seems like quicker than 9 minutes.
Well, it depends on what a truck is when it comes to get you, because it could be right around the corner. Most places, and we're lucky.
So you're saying max is 9 minutes?
The max can be about 13 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I guess the max could be longer than that, depending on where you lived in the county. But in Forsyth County, we have a first responder system, and we have the paid service. And the great thing about in Forsyth County, you can dial 911 and you could go to your front door. Within a minute, you're going to hear a siren. Okay? If you want it faster, you would say, if your house is on fire, I would say in 40 seconds, you're probably going to hear a siren, because there are more fire stations than there are ambulance bases around us.
So somebody's dialed 911 and have a medical emergency. Are they dispatching the fire trucks and EMS, the ambulance? What are they dispatching?
It depends on the nature of the call. If the call is if the nature of the call is something like shortness of breath, cardiac arrest, you're going to get a fire truck and an ambulance coming. If the nature of the call is abdominal pain, you're just going to get an ambulance.
Heart attack, you got everybody coming.
Everybody's coming.
Wow, that's amazing. But how many guys, or ladies and guys, you have working with you?
So I've got about 230
Wow.
230 people that they're technically supposed to be with me. I'm a little short on staff
That's
right
a
now.
small army.
Yeah, it's a small army. I'm running about 35 short on personnel, and we're working towards closing that gap on that. But from the paramedic side of the EMS side, there's probably 122 on roster on that side of the house that brings in there, and I've got the fire, county fire, and then we have communications also.
What's the highlight of your day? People ask me, what's the highlight of my day?
The only part of your day, two things that make my day. One, when I wake up, because I know the alternative from that.
Exactly.
And then the other part of my day, the second part of my day is when I make it home. Okay, that's to see my wife and kids, and I think that's
leave and come back
and make that, because you can't take anything for granted. And those are the two highlights of my day. The part of my day that I own the most, every day I go running, and so when you're at home, you don't own anything. You're just there trying to support the family.
So you're saying your wife run the house?
Yeah, my wife runs the house.
Okay, yeah, I get it. That was kind of well sitting and saying you don't have to. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. She runs the house, and my first mission of the day, I get up about 2:30 in the morning.
You got a honey-do list?
I do have a honey-do list.
Honey-do this, honey-do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
So my day starts.
Don't feel bad. My dad has one too. Yeah.
My day starts about 2:30 in the morning. I get up and. First thing I do is make my way to the kitchen and make my wife's coffee before I leave, because otherwise, if I don't, everybody behind that's going to have a bad day. So I get her coffee so that she can have a good day, and everybody else is going to.
You just set the table and raise the bar for a lot of men out there, saying that you get up in the mornings, fix coffee, fix breakfast, and all of that, right? Wow, yeah, that's pretty strong. So that's the service mentality, huh? You serve the people, you're serving of the people, and you carry that same service attitude back to the house, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's strong. Wow. See, I didn't know that. Yeah. So y'all got on record, Chief Black wife runs the house.
That's right.
So tell me, when you look back over your career, how long have you been in emergency services?
So roughly about 28 years, 27 years here.
So what was your worst day on the job?
Well, it's sort of complicated, but I will say that in public service, and I think there's a lot of people out there that can probably understand this, there's a tax that comes with serving the public, especially
when you say tax. What do you mean? A lot of folks.
So what I mean that there's time away from your family. There's things you give up to
price to pay,
and one of my bigger sacrifices early in my career is sacrificing time with my family. It ultimately cost me a family initially in this line of work, and that's part of the regrets that I have. But you learn from those and you move forward. That and how much you're going to give. And so now when I talk to the young men and ladies that work for me, I always, and hopefully they will echo this, I always talk to them about what they do for their family before they come to work, what they do, putting priorities in the right order, because I'm in a position to have seen what happens. And I've learned, and you probably also know this, that if an employee is having trouble at home, they're not going to make a good employee at work. They're just out of balance, and it's just not going to work. I've never seen it work, and I think that that's something that, as managers or chiefs or whatever, you've got to, set that sort of that priority. And sometimes it's counterproductive because you're like supporting someone doing something more for their family. And then their actual workplace, and that's something to work through. The other thing that I learned in this course of work is that we come into this line of work in different stages. And you come into this work, you're young, you're agile, maybe you're in a relationship, maybe you're not, and you're doing all kind of things. You're taking crazy assignments, you're doing all those things, and you're not thinking about the benefits and things like that. But as time goes on, your life changes. Certain things become priorities for you. Certainly, you're worrying about retirement, you're worrying about health care benefits, you're worrying about workers' comp and all these other things. And then on the back end side of your career, you're worrying about, what is your legacy going to be? What are you going to leave behind, or how are they going to remember you?
Right.
And they're definitely not going to name a building after me. I might get a toilet brush, but they won't name a building after me.
Oh, no, they may. So, that's a good concept that you just stated. I look at myself as a coach, right? And I try to coach the team that I have that's around me. And we have this thing here where we say, go check addresses. In other words, go spend some time at home, check your address. And I get that because, as you said, this line of work is very stressful. People very rarely see the price that you pay for sitting in that seat. I heard a guy say, he who carries the badge, whether it's at management or whether it's at entry level, his heart is heavy because of all that you see, all that you experience, all that you have seen. You see, from the words of Shakespeare, you see the best of life and the worst of life, the best of times, but yet the worst of times. And I applaud you guys for what you do, your guys and your team, because I have seen how you show up on situations. I have seen how when you show up, you make the difference. In other words, you save lives. Matter of fact, I go back to how I saw the professionalism that you guys showed up the other day. But I didn't understand, right? Why did the guy stick my finger? Why did he prick my finger?
Well,
I didn't mean to ask you that.
Obviously, what he's trying to make sure is you didn't have a low blood sugar issue.
Oh.
So again, if you're not saying you weren't acting right, but let's say you're not acting right. And so they want to
So
make
you're trying to say I wasn't acting right.
Just trying to say that we want to get a baseline for where you are, because there's a lot of reasons people are into accidents and things like that. But one of the things that can happen is blood sugar is the issue.
Car hitting you cause you not
car,
act right. You know what I mean?
Correct. But the airbag goes off and rings your bell.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're sort of discombobulated. And
Trust me, I've been there.
And so then we check your blood sugar and it checks out. So then we know the only cause of this is most likely this airbag deploying and causing you an issue.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why. Because when I realized what was going on later that day, right? I was like, why is this Band-Aid on my finger, right? And so when everything started kind of coming back, and I started, getting my legs up under me, as they say in football or basketball, like I had been hit by a truck, and I was trying to get my gathering, and I was like, what was that for? Yeah, but I started to call over there and say, Chief Black, why you man stick me in my finger? What was he doing?
That's a part of their job.
Yeah, but I appreciate what you guys do. So let me ask you a question. So let's say a young man is out there looking, he sees Chief Black, the first African-American of emergency services, and he's looking at you and he's wondering, how do I become the next Chief Black? Well, let's just say anybody. Any child, any young man, how do I get into this position? Do you have vacancies? What's the path inward to start working in emergency services?
I'll just one small correction. I may be the first in Forsyth County African American.
That's what I'm talking about. Forsyth County. I don't live nowhere else.
Okay, so the first path is it starts early, and it's one of those kind of things you have to get to someone fairly early in age, and you say that hey, there is some rewards if you stay out of trouble. You don't get involved early in criminal activity and mess up your record, so that if you want to go do certain things. And working in emergency medicine or emergency services is one of those kind of fields, because you're trusted to go in someone's house. You're trusted with their loved ones. You're trusted when no one's around. So that's the first thing that you jump through. If those things are in check, then there's multiple avenues that you can actually go. We're lucky enough that in North Carolina we have a community college system that has some basic levels. You can go in and become an EMT within 6 months, and you can track through that part of it. And that can be your first level of actually becoming a part of a system. Once you do that, and let's say we hire you as a EMT into our system, primarily from that point in time, you can go through the community college system from there to get your certificate as a paramedic for less than $100, maybe $125, and a book. Okay,
yeah.
And then you're popping out on.
How long does it take to do that?
So you're basically popping out in about 12 months or less, and popping out on the other side of this with a career, and then you can build on that certificate to get a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and in some cases a master's in the same field.
So do you all have like interns? Let's say. So, for example, a guy wants to go to BLET. We say we'll sponsor you through that. You guys have programs like that?
It's funny you mention that. We just started a program, trainee program, that will kick off October 1, in which we will take people that have no certification, just a clean record. You coming into you apply, and I think we've got 35 candidates that have applied for this, and I've not screened them all. and they're going to go through and they're going to do some basic competency kind of things, and then they're going to come out and they're going to start this program. And this particular program, most EMT programs are 6 months. This one is going to be set up to do 12 weeks. They're going to produce 8
3
EMT.
months.
Mm-hmm. In half the amount of time, because that's all they're going to be doing is going to school for that period of time, and they'll pop out on the other side. We'll put them on a truck.
On the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. I did the research on that. I didn't want you to think that I didn't want you to think I was really that bright. Nah, I had to do the research, and I heard that you guys are going to be doing something like that. Right. Yeah, that's good stuff. So let me ask you something. What's the capability? You know, I've always wondered that, because I've seen some horrific scenes when your guys show up and they don't flinch, they don't bat an eye, they jump right off of the ambulance and they just do their job. And so, what are the capabilities? So, do your guys have the ability to push narcotics? Do they push IVs? What do they do?
So, they are from birth to death. Okay, you can deliver babies. Okay, and so with inside
birth
of that
to death.
Yeah. And from on the other end of that component part, they're at the point where their life is ending. So they hold the hand at the point when someone is not going to make it. They're there for them. So in between, there's a lot of things that are inside of there, from airway control, advanced airway control, the same thing they would do inside an emergency department. If you needed certain drugs, resuscitative drugs, they can give a lot of drugs to resuscitate patients. You know, basic things such as starting IVs or I think that's a sort of a basic kind of thing, but you know that covers a big chunk of things. You know, they put tourniquets on to stop hemorrhaging. They do other things for hemorrhage control, and they do CPR, which you could do CPR. It's not complicated,
right?
But it gets, as we add things in there. Or as
gets a little dicey.
Gets a little bit squirrely in there, and so we have to do other things to resuscitate that person. Most of our cardiac arrests now, it used to be a time when we would go to someone's house, we would load them up, and then we get in the truck and we drive to the hospital doing CPR. Fast as we could doing CPR. And we've learned that that's not the best chance. That doesn't yield good outcomes. And so now our practice is, if it's your house, we're going to come into your house and we're going to bring all our stuff and we're going to resuscitate you in the house, and we'll spend an hour in the house with you. And we have shown that we have favorable outcomes, more favorable outcomes, resuscitating you in the house. And then you don't get a fast transport to the hospital. You get a nice, easy ride to the, but you're alive.
Stabilize before I move.
Correct. Because there's no good that comes from transporting a dead person to the hospital emergency traffic, other than you're going to get in an accident. So we've moved away from that, and our system is showing that works better.
So let me ask you this: so, do you get jaded sometime? So, like for example, I noticed how, like, when you was talking, right, and I kept saying ambulance and you kept saying truck, and you was talking about it like it don't even phase. Like, I've seen it so much. It's almost like a smoke-filled room, right? Even though you don't smoke, you go in the room and you come out smelling like smoke. So you carry that with you every day. Mm-hmm. The things that you have seen, you take them, and you've taken them with you for 20 years. So you become not necessarily immune or emotionally immune from situations. Do you have to do that to be effective?
I think and to a certain extent, you have to build up some emotional calluses to do this job. You know, you can't. You know, you see some horrific things that you pointed out there. And if I became emotionally attached to that thing, you can't do that job. I have to focus on that job and get through whatever my objective is. And then you circle back around to your human side, because you can't not recognize that human side, because you would not be in this career long. So do medics cry? Yeah, they do.
I do. I cry all the time here.
Do they have days that they can't come to work? There's days where they can't come to work. You know, one of the things that has been very surprising in emergency services is that we were late to recognize the mental impact of the things that we were going through. You know, we were fairly good in the military to recognize post-traumatic fairly
You were in the
quickly.
military?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. What were you in?
Army.
Okay.
So recognizing that component part of your of the soldier, what would happen to the soldier. And so when you think about what's happening in the field, you know, think about someone being incinerated in a car, okay? Most of us think about it from the perspective of, you hear about it on the news. Somebody was involved in a car accident or whatever, and you see the flames and you go, oh, that's bad. But from the medic or the firefighter side of things, you may arrive and the person's still in the car and still alive. So it's very graphic and smell it. And so it is very piercing to you. And so not only is that on you physically, but it is on you like a warm blanket mentally. And you have to find some way to deal with that. And I know where my cup sort of ran over, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to process this, because not only does it affect your work performance, but it affects your home and home life. And so, you can't go through life thinking that, okay, every time I get in a car, something bad's going to happen to me. Otherwise, you would be a recluse. And so you have to find some way of dealing with that, whether that's something spiritual, meditation, or actually talking to someone, and we're lucky in our organization. I think it participates in your organization is Glenn Davis, that has works through the chaplain service to come in and talk to our guys and girls and actually help us with that process.
That was one of the things when we first came in the door that we talked about, was surviving the shield. In other words, surviving the job, because the things that you see, that you carry home with you, and then you come back the next day or however many days later and expect it to perform. I look back over 36 years of working in law enforcement, and I can still remember some things that I can tell you what the person had on. I can tell you what I was doing when the call came out, or what I was doing when the incident unfolded. And it affects you. And that was one of the things that when we talk with Chaplain Davis and our care team that we put in place, is that the men and women that work, whether it's emergency services or law enforcement, first responders, they deal with a lot of things, and it not only affects them, the job mentally, psychologically, but their home life. And it also gives you a whole different perspective on how you see life. But then there's another piece that it does to you, you and I were talking about, and that is your health. So I heard you say you do a lot of running, right? Mm. I used to do a lot of cycling. I still got a bicycle back there, specialized that I probably ain't ridden in about 6 months now. But that is key that you just said, is that maintaining a healthy physical health as well as a healthy mindset.
Yeah, and I just personal belief is that, there's core things that, from my background that, that I've learned as a nurse, as a medic, and that you have to keep in check. Blood sugar. There's a lot of people that are diabetic out there, especially African Americans that are out there that have diabetic issues.
Mountain Dew help me.
Mountain Dews don't help you. Don't help you. Okay. And then
sugar wafers help.
No, that don't help either. And then the other part of it is hypertension, which is high blood pressure. And sometimes high blood pressure.
How about cholesterol?
Cholesterol is one of those kind of things that's bad for you too. But you everything's in moderation. So you have to.
So of the three you named, if I had to choose one, which one I want?
Which one would you want to have? That's a hard choice, because either one of them, either one of those can lead down a path that are destruction to you. So I think that if you're gonna live,
say cholesterol.
I think you can manage that.
Okay, good. I feel better. I
think you can manage that. I think the thing that you really have to own is the fact that like sugary drinks and candy and stuff and sweets, that sort of sneaks up on you. We get stressed, so we go back to that.
I come in the door drinking a Mountain Dew.
So again,
I go out the door drinking one every
and again,
day.
that's bad for you. High blood pressure, sometimes people know they got it, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes we inherit the trait of having high blood pressure. And so, those are things that if you manage those three things, you're probably going to do okay. You're going to be able to manage any significant outcome.
Can I continue to drink sodas, Mountain Dews?
I think that if my advice would be is to find some different type of water. Find water. Water drink. Water's good. Water or juice.
I was loving you till you said that, man. I was loving you.
Yeah. Find some water.
Wow. So let me ask you a question before we wrap it up. If you had to leave us with something that you wanted to share with the public, you wanted to share with the men and women of this county, Forsyth, and even beyond here, as relates to emergency services, what would you like to say about it?
So I think that thing I want them to know is that I am lucky enough to have some of the smartest men and women, I think, in the world working for me. I'm truly lucky to have that. I know that that's not something that I should take for granted. But not only that is that they're a family. You know, while they may be dysfunctional, they're my family, and I take ownership in everything they do, good or bad. It's mine. It's mine to own. I can't
know the feeling.
I can't push off the bad, you know, and I can't take credit for all the good.
That's
all
true.
I can do is try to be an example. And sometimes, you know, we all fall short from that which we try to be. And, you know, I do the best I can. And that sometimes is difficult because it's hard sometimes just to control yourself and not only trying to motivate others to do something, the right thing. But I can say in Forsyth County that, you know, if I suffered emergency or you suffered emergency, they could feel assured that the care will be delivered, the best care will be delivered. I mean, and that's the thing that I would want them to know is that great guys and girls.
Well, you came behind a great predecessor. Your predecessor, I met him as well. He left it in good hands, and they chose a good man, Chief Black. We're very fortunate to have you in this county. I'm very grateful for you. You're truly an unsung hero, and your team are unsung heroes because I have seen firsthand how you guys respond. I have been out on some scenes, and I know firsthand how you responded to me as well last week. I want you to know I appreciate you, and if I can do anything, if our team here can help you or do anything for you, we appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing at the detention center as well, training our guys up and giving them the training. As always, you're welcome back here, and we love you, and thank you for stopping by with Off the Cuffs.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. As always, we love this city, this county, we love this country. Thank you.